Should I start with introducing the co-host?
I think you should.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, I spooked her. I wanted to lift her up to the microphone so she could purr into it, but yeah. Anyway, Mimi says hi, but now she's gone.
Hi, Mimi. Hi, Mimi. Oh.
Welcome to Waiting for Review, a show about the majestic indie developer lifestyle and their cats. Join your scintillating hosts, Dave, Daniel, Mimi, and Momo. And let's hear about a tiny slice of their thrilling lives. Join us while waiting for review.
Hey.
Hey, Dave. Nice to see you.
Nice
How's
to
it
see
going?
you.
What kind of energy are you bringing today?
Slightly chilled, cold New Zealand morning energy, I think. It's 1 degree here, which is may as well be minus 20 in terms of how I feel, because you get used to what your climate is. So chilled vibes, I hope, Daniel.
That's around 274 Kelvin for the listeners who use Kelvin, by the way.
Yeah, get it right. Do get it right.
In the meantime, we had 295 Kelvin or 22 degrees Celsius in Germany today, which was pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. And if you're listening from America, that's approximately 5 icebergs the size of a small iceberg. Sorry, my American friends.
Don't be mean.
Sorry.
Okay, I am going to convert it once, though. That's 22 Celsius is 71 Fahrenheit. So see,
270,
I can
271 or?
No.
What was
271 is 1 degree Celsius in Kelvin.
Mm-hmm.
And 295 is 22 in Kelvin. I think Kelvin to Celsius is just like you subtract 270 or so.
Yes.
Because Kelvin starts counting at absolute zero, but I think 1K difference is the same as 1C difference. I'm not 100% sure, though.
Yes, they're scaled the same, if I remember my physics correctly.
Physics,
science, mate, innit?
I recently had a friend explain to me the physics of Northern Light, and that was really, really amazing and really cool. And also, she made sounds to explain how the particles kind of get trapped in the Earth's magnetic field, and then they do a spiral motion that goes like, and then they land in the usually at the North or South Pole. And
right.
So yeah, apparently that's the sound that the particles make, according to my physics friend.
Sounds about right to me. To be fair, if I was to imagine what they would sound like doing their thing. Did you see the Aurora where you are, Daniel?
Very faintly. I couldn't be bothered to go outside, away from like light pollution, really. Mm-hmm. And so I did see a faint glow, but it was almost imperceptible. Like friends of mine apparently saw them really, really well, but there was clouds and I don't know.
Similar here. Similar for me as well. It was cloud cover and the faintest sort of slightly purpley reddy tint, but only if you sort of just stopped for a second and really took it in, like it wasn't vivid. But by the time,
most of the time they're only vivid in pictures, because you can kind of like change the exposure of a camera in a way where, like with the eye, it usually looks faint, I think.
Yeah, and by the time this show goes out, we may even have had the second Aurora, Daniel.
There's another one coming?
I saw we've got more space weather on its way, I think.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
I hope so. Anyway, I kind of wanted to see it vivid, and we were denied. Yeah. So
maybe I can find some time then. That would be really nice. Yeah, me. I have been. I've been weird. It's been a long week, really. But I've been traveling as well, so that was exhausting. So that's why I'm a bit tired today. But also, my weekend has been absolutely dominated by the fact that the servers have been like just crashing and crashing and crashing.
Oh no.
And like every time I'm like, oh, okay, now I'll fix this thing. And then they get another order of magnitude larger, and they just find a new way of just like overrunning some buffer or whatever. And it is so frustrating. No, I think they're running now again. I'm keeping an eye on them but they're recovering, and they are fully recovered, in fact. But yeah, they just like every time, like I'm like, okay, I fixed this, and then they find like a new condition that triggers a restart somehow, or a rebuild, or a crash, or I've exceeded the Java heap memory or whatever. And it's really frustrating. And I'm preparing a new architecture or infrastructure that will be outside Kubernetes, but it will take a few more weeks, I think, because I want to do it right from the start this time. And in the meantime, it's just like this thing just has to survive a few more weeks. And it's really hard though, because people on like those social medias are like starting to talk amongst themselves and be like, oh, have you had this TelemetryDeck thing? Yeah, me too. It's been like every 4 weeks. Ouch. It's so frustrating. And that hurts. That hurts to see that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Is it the type of problem, if you're saying like you just need a few more weeks before you can sort of cut in and change it over to something else, or give it that time, could you just give it oodles of resource and would that solve the problem? Can you sort of shove money at it for a few weeks to buy you that cover, as it were?
No, like I've been basically trying to do exactly that, but no, not really. No, the problem is that what I need to really push on is like I need to put more bureaucracy in place, because I am talking to one of the cloud providers. I think I already told you which one, and there just needs to be a few more dotting of the T's and crossing of the I's and stuff like that.
Right.
Before we can like move to that cloud provider, and then I can like implement all the stuff that I've already prepared. But as long as that isn't done yet, it's just like, yeah, But I can sit down in the next few days and hopefully finish most of the paperwork, and that will hopefully push us forward.
Well, fingers crossed it doesn't take too long and you're over the other side soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, not much fun battling the stack when it's like that, though.
Yeah, especially because most of the time, when like if something just crashes, they will usually, after, I don't know, an hour or so, or maybe even half an hour, they will just like catch themselves and restart themselves, and then like rebuild themselves, which takes a while. But after a while, the data will be available. But there's a secondary condition where then the data streams kind of stop coming in, because the buffers in between are not long enough. So the thing is like, oh, but okay, I have only data until exactly this date. So it looks in the buffer and doesn't find anything with that. it's like, okay, I'm just gonna wait and discard everything until then. So I have to manually tell it to no, just like take the newest one, and you will be losing a bit of data, and then kind of re-ingest that data from cold storage. And that just will cause like these holes in the data for an hour or two, but then I can only fix it the next day when the full day is available.
Yep.
And it's just frustrating. I don't know. I'm frustrated by this.
Yeah, I can imagine. It sounds like quite a lot of time thievery as well.
Oh, that too, especially. Like you gotta watch these things. Like I like over the weekend, it only already manifested, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna reboot these, and like from my phone actually, and like, okay, they're gonna catch themselves. And then after an hour or so, I took another look, and it seemed like they were okay, but they were kind of in a weird condition. And now I have to pay the dues at the end of the weekend, where everything is even more borked. So yeah, you gotta watch them, you gotta kind of babysit them, and that's annoying.
Oh, I really don't envy you with the server life there, Daniel.
I'm hoping to move them off Kubernetes, and I'm hoping that will remove one class of problems, and then let's see what other problems we can encounter. I think that will actually help a bit, then actually moving the message queue off of my self-hosted version onto a hosted version of the message queue of Apache Kafka. Because that will then have a huge, like a way bigger buffer, and that will help. And the third thing is, I don't know, like the third thing would probably be to change the database schema to be more optimizable, but I can't really do that because that's kind of like everything is in that schema, right?
Yeah, that's a much deeper change.
So I'm thinking about how could I do that, but I'm not sure I'm not sure it is possible. It's like one of those like migrations that take 2 years to complete or so. So I'm just like kicking that can down the road until I can find something that will work there.
Fair. It sounds like with the Kafka stuff, you're sort of by shifting that off your own hosted thing to something provided, that seems about right to me in a sense of that then becomes, as I quite often refer to these things, it becomes as somebody else's problem at that point for the maintenance of that bit of the stack, right? And so that takes one of these things off your plate.
There is actually a company that provides a hosted version of Apache Druid. The thing is just, they are so ludicrously expensive that it is just completely impossible to run a company on top of them. So I think the hosting of the main data query servers will still need to be done by us. Which but
yeah. Well, when you're also providing your own, what have you called it? The TelemetryDeck QL, is it?
The TelemetryDeck Query language.
Yeah. So is that TDQL?
Just TQL, actually.
Okay. Yeah, and that sits on top of Druid, right? So it's not just that you're running Druid; you've got that over the top of it. I imagine.
Yeah, but that actually sounds more complicated than it is because TQL is just a variant of the Druid query language that it speaks anyway.
Yep.
So we're compiling that down. But yeah, we are kind of married to Druid. It's like doesn't matter if it's self-hosted or hosted by someone else. But yeah, switching away from Druid, that would be like a really big,
very
but
big
like
change.
the schema is like a less of a thing because I don't know, like the schema would still be in Druid. It would just be less free because basically kind of right now you can send telemetry deck signals with a like anything as a payload as long as it's a list of key values. But that makes database optimization, of course, makes that harder. So I'm thinking, should I constrain the key, the number of keys somehow? But then the problem is like, and actually specify the keys. Like, so I'm allowing a list of, I want to say like 100, 500 specific keys, but then I'd probably need to map them somehow because your key number 17 will not be the same as my key number 17,
Yep.
So I don't know. Like you get into different problems.
You do. So, a whole different class of problems. And at the moment, what you've got is incredibly flexible, I guess, in terms of the point of use. I can send anything I like at the moment to within reason. I would imagine if I started encoding big movie files into data and then chucking that at the key value store, something will tell me I'm holding it wrong at some point. But
I think I'm refusing values that are bigger than a certain size, but I don't know the size right now by heart.
That's fine. No, that makes sense to me, Daniel. And it's interesting because these inflection points for TelemetryDeck seem to keep happening at sort of semi-regular intervals, and I think it's really correlated to the feature set that you've got and the complexity that keeps getting added for your users, and also the fact that you are growing and all of that side of stuff as well. So I think I hate to say it, mate, but it feels like even once this current round is solved, there's probably another inflection point in the next 6 months to a year, right? That'll.
Yeah, definitely. But we just have to grow fast enough, like so that by the time the next inflection point's coming, I can hire someone to fix it.
Indeed.
That's going to be the thing where I'm like, hey, person, this group of server servers, this cluster is now your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that would feel really nice.
And so what would the job title for that be? I'm sort of envisioning like it's somewhere in the DevOps sort of side of things, I guess. But like,
yeah, like the serious title would be DevOps. I think the non-serious title would be Druid Wrangler.
I was going to say Wrangler was going to be in there somewhere. It feels, yeah,
just wrangling a gaggle of druids.
Yeah, and that in my mind's eye, they're actually cats. To be honest with you, cat herder.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well,
but yeah, the servers are still running now. They are.
You're checking in real time. It's been one of those weekends.
I've just watched like numbers get smaller over the last hour or so before we started record, and so now they're back at 0, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff. I've had a bit of a different week dev-wise on my stuff.
Do tell.
So where do I start? There's I've got a load of the bugs for GoVJ, like the last minute sort of bugs, the last mile bugs. I've steamrolled through those now. I'm pretty much on my gold master release, as it were. And there'll probably be another build before the one that goes to the store, because that's just how this period of time tends to work. But so bugs killed pretty much. I'm now focusing in on everything that I'm going to need for the release. So this is about figuring out, okay, I need to stand up a new website, and that has been my weekend over the last couple of days. We're recording on a Monday here. And as you know, as we've talked about in the past, like web design isn't my forte, is not my most loved task. When I was standing up the GoVJ Pro landing page just before the start of the year, you helped me out, Daniel. You stuck me up an 11T template folder and added in Tailwind and a whole bunch of other aspects there, and kind of went, dude, just get going. And so I did. And
fantastic.
For GoVJ's website, for the main website that I'm now updating for this new app, I went back to that template, back to that landing page, gutted it out of all the GoVJ Pro stuff, because this is the original app, and started pulling it together. And I went through the curve a bit quicker this time, Daniel. Like normally the curve looks like this. I'll spend half hour to an hour futzing with it. I'll spend another hour going, I hate web dev. Another hour where I go, it's not so bad. Come on, dude. And then eventually it starts to come together. And I kind of did that blip in a much more compressed time this time.
Oh, so, nice. That is very efficient then.
Yeah, something's sticking here. Maybe you'll make a web dev out of me yet. But I have kind of YOLO'd that site straight onto govjapp.com. So even though the app is not there, the site is up. Yeah.
govjapp.com.
Yeah.
Ooh la la. I like it. Ooh la so la. It has a screenshot. It says, run the visuals for your show.
Subtitled with from the palm of your hand.
Fantastic lists of screenshots. It says GoVJ allows you to run your live visual mix straight from your iPhone or iPad. And then a big download page. And then very cool features. Like, for example, easy to use UI keeps you in control. Or load your own video content. Or live input from camera and NDI. Another call to action, because CTAs are very important.
Yeah.
Lots of more features. And then a sign-up page. Be the first to know. Fantastic. And then expertly crafted with love from New Zealand by David Wood in Aotearoa. How do I pronounce that? The correct name for New Zealand? Aotearoa.
Okay.
Aotearoa.
Yeah. So it's in Te Reo Māori.
Okay. David loves making real-time video tools that anyone can use. Fantastic. I love that. You have just a gift for writing copy that I wish I had.
Thank you. That's some of that is just pulled from various other incarnations of the site and things, but I think this is the first time that I've added that personal nod with I've got a picture of myself. It's a picture of a selfie of me that I actually affected through GoVJ as well. So that's like three layers there on that image. But
fantastic.
I'm trying to do that a little more with the app in terms of personalizing the fact that yes, it's a individual making this, because
I think that's really cool
to fit. Yeah,
like me and Lisa do this with TelemetryDeck a lot too, where we just try to show hey, this is basically just a very small team working on this.
Yep. Yeah, it's the reality. I may as well share it. And honestly, every time I do, it kind of gets me more traction with people using it and my customers, because it's like, hey, I'm one guy. Typically, they're also one person as a VJ, right? So there's a lot of there's a lot of sort of shared vibes on that one. Yeah. So anyway, that's come together. That's probably just about good to go, to be honest with you. I've got a build waiting. I just need to. What do I need to do? I've got a privacy policy to add to the site, which is fine because I've got my previous one. I just need to update a couple of things. Nothing major's changed. But I've been a bit not quite naughty, tardy. Hadn't updated my privacy policy to include Feedback Bulb, which is the feedback service I'm now using. Now, Feedback Bulb is a privacy first service, so this actually means I go in the direction of better user privacy in terms of how I'm getting feedback, because I was using Zendesk before and they had their own policies and everything else. So Feedback Bulb is better in that sense. But I need to signal it to my users properly. So that needs to be updated, needs to go up. When that's there and I've checked over all the copy, I've got to do a privacy manifest as well to go with the build now. Thank you, Apple. So that's fine. That's okay. But do all of those things, and then hopefully I'm releasing next weekend is the plan.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So finally, nearly at the end of May, but getting there.
Yeah. But also, can we exchange landing pages? Because I kind of did the same thing. Like you built a landing page for GoVJ, and what I did is I'm now building landing pages for TelemetryDecks, and targeting different customer segments basically. So if you go to telemetrydeck.com/industry/startups, I think I sent you this before. Let me just send it to you again.
You can do. And do you want to? You could screen share it for the people on the YouTube.
Sure, I will totally do that. If you go there, you will see that I have also built landing pages. The difference is because I know that I'm gonna be building a lot of those.
Yep.
As in, I don't know. This is the one for startups, which is not showing to me right now. That's kind of weird.
Oh, maybe I've cursed us with a technical difficulties moment.
Yeah. This is just the curse of live demos, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to link in the show notes.
I'm going to just continue talking, and then
it's
going to work at some point later, I think, which is because I really want to build multiple of these. I want to concentrate on the content, which means that I'm not writing those in code. I'm creating those in a CMS. And I think I told you this before, so this is not news. But what is news is I now have the data structures in the way that I want them, and I can really build this really quickly and only can work on the content. So I have all these sections, and basically all these sections are just a data structure though. So the title is a data, is a section, and then the get started button is a section, and then the trusted by creators worldwide is a section, because I've been told that directly under your intro, you should really show a so-called trust element, which in this case shows that over 3,000 apps are using TelemetryDeck. And then I have all these
that's
sections
cool.
where I can either have like image and text, or I can just have a big image, or I can I can have testimonials and text, or I can have just a list of supported platforms for TelemetryDeck, or I can just have like interactive chart and text, and of course a link to various features. And
That's awesome.
yeah, image and text also works, by the way. And so yeah, the thing is, I can really like move these around very quickly. And if I just want to change the text, for example, I can just like change it, and that it will rebuild rebuild pretty quickly. So that's kind of nice.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah,
I love that. And actually, I'm recognizing a little bit of what you pulled up on the screen, because when I went, oh, I need to format my landing page, I went to one of your landing pages, went and viewed this, pulled some of the initial bit of the source out. So if you notice, I've got these H2 headers, and then followed by a subtitle, and then the text and the images to the side. I think initially I copied some of your landing page to get that going, Daniel.
Totally fine. Like we should all. Oh yeah, this is another. I also have a thing where I can just display code now, because code is very important.
Yes,
and I want to show people that we have code. I think
that is selectable code as well. So
this is I can just copy paste the code, because why should I put in an image of my code if I can just put in some code, and it also in fact will automatically syntax highlight because yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. And I love the fact you've got it so flexible, because you can, it's really malleable. You can stand up these different iterations of the pages very easily. I can totally see how it comes together, because I sort of found that as I was going through the development process this weekend. I made the sections that I've got. So on the landing page, in fact, I'm going to bring it up now just in no, I'm not, because I will definitely have technical difficulties. Okay, anyway, the page I've got, if you look down at it, sort of the different feature bits go image on the left, text on the right, then image on the right, text on the left, and they alternate in background color. And I did this just by setting it up, and then copy and pasting and putting in different text and the rest of it. And I had a whole moment of like, yeah, this is really irritating. And if I was programming in anything else, I would now have like made a function or done something about this. And so that was actually a bit of my learning curve yesterday, was just setting up a templating file in 11T. And figuring out, okay, how do I pass parameters to that? How do I send some data in?
Fantastic.
So I've got that
then
set.
It gets more fun.
Yes,
web designing, and that's how they get you. That's how they get you.
Yeah. So that's where it really started to take off for me. Was like, okay, I've made my component. It's looking great. I can now shoot values into that, and 11C just handles it. So yeah, not quite a web dev proper, but I'm certainly punching above my iOS biased weight, as it were.
Fantastic.
In all of this.
Very, very good.
Yeah, and it gets me to something else that I've been thinking about over the last week, Daniel, which is actually about where I am with iOS dev, Apple development, and the whole ecosystem. And the whole.
Do tell, because I have seen some concerning things on your Mastodon.
Concerning things?
Concerning.
Give me, what concerned you in particular?
So skimming through your Mastodon, it seems like you're preparing a very hard pivot into writing Kotlin code, which
is
used to write Android apps.
That's right. So a few factors all combined. And it was not this weekend just gone, but just over a week ago. And there were reports in the news of Apple signing on the dotted line with OpenAI, and that we would get ChatGPT in the next version of iOS. And rumor or not, like there's a bit of direction there. And I looked at that and I'm like, I'm not sure I want that. Like, it might have some great utility. I'm sure there's people listening going, I would love that in one way or another. I'm afraid my slightly cynical, middle-aged man kind of view of this was, no, I don't want that. Get rid of that. Even before it's even a thing. I've kind of chilled out a bit now. We'll see what that looks like when it gets here. But it was very much a feeling of like, yeah, this stuff could happen to the platform. And as a user, I feel incredibly locked in, right? All of my data's tied up in iCloud, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, so that could happen. And I just have to kind of put up with it in one way or another. And that then got me searching, looking, thinking. And of course, I don't want to use Android because I feel the same about Google services as I do about that sort of interference, right?
Oh yeah, I'm moving away from Apple to Google
Yeah,
because I
exactly.
dislike their use of AI.
Yeah, I've got privacy concerns with Apple integrating OpenAI and ChatGPT. I'm going to go to use Google. Yeah, that'll learn me. So, but no, the thing is, with an Android device, I could run a de-Googled Android potentially, and feel like I've got some level of freedom in what I use in that sense, I guess. But realistically, I love my Apple products. I love the environment. I love programming in Swift. I'm probably not about to completely table flip and stop doing what I do. And I'm certainly not about to stop putting out iOS and iPad apps when I'm just at this stage of GoVJ's going really well. I'm really enjoying that. But what I am going to do is teach myself Kotlin. I am going to experiment with some Android apps and devices over this next year or so. And I am going to make sure I've got a foot outside of Apple's walled garden, because then I've got choices in one way or another. So that's the overall of it. And Kotlin looks, quite similar to Swift, really. I don't think as a Swift developer I could look at Kotlin and go, oh, that's terrible. It's not exactly the same, but it's also not that much different.
No, Kotlin feels like Swift's cousin or something like that.
Yeah.
It runs on the Java VM, which I
Mm-hmm.
hate with a fiery passion of
Yep.
death, but it is very well designed. It is a very modern language. It started it started being a thing just about the same time Swift started being a thing, and it's just a very modern, very well designed, but designed by the people at JetBrains, who we like, by the way.
Yes. And JetBrains also do Compose, and Compose is very similar to Swift UI. So you can see all these pieces sort of coming together for me of like, oh, I could look over there, get up to speed a bit, and be reasonably effective as a developer over there in probably a shorter amount of time than if I suddenly had to start programming in, say, C++ or Rust. Because both of those things will come with different cognitive overhead compared to the type of programming I've been doing for a while now. So, yeah, all of this to say, I guess, is that yes, I will be having a bit of a my first app sort of moment with that over the next year. For me to bring what I do with the video mixing app with GoVJ to Android or anything else through that sort of matter, I not only have to learn how to make UIs and deal with all of the data stuff and the regular bits of programming that we do, but I also have to learn how to manipulate real-time video on that platform. So that's going to be the first port of call, to be honest with you, as I'm doing sort of proof of concepts and prototyping and playing with this environment, is can I do anything interesting in terms of sending video into textures on the graphics card in some fashion where I can then apply shaders to it. And that'll be my first prototype. Like I'll do the hello world with Kotlin, make a button work, put something text on the screen or whatever, and then I'm going to be going right down into can I set up videos for graphics and that side of stuff. So Skier is what I'm looking at for that.
What's that? Skier?
Skier. It's effectively the canvassing the canvas part of the stack that Kotlin Multiplatform talks to render its UI. Yeah.
And what platforms does Kotlin Multiplatform run on? Like, is that does it run on iOS? Does it run on a Mac?
It does.
Oh wow!
So
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and I believe the iOS support, I think, is probably not as good as any of the other things it does. But there is a route there. And actually, at Google I/O last week, there was there's a couple of libraries that help the interop with Swift over there as well. So it's not inconceivable that I might round out on a single library that the iOS app then consumes back from Kotlin in time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that. That's really news to me. That's really cool.
But
question though, like not to criticize or anything, but have you considered like just like using a 3D engine or something that is multi-platform, like Unity or I don't know, Unreal or whatever? Because of course you could use those to like write shaders and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a view there where that might be the most practical thing to use for some of this stuff. But what I've tended to find is that there's always an edge in there somewhere. Like the game engine hasn't been programmed to think about multiple windows for it or something like that. Or okay, so then I'm now locked into Unity. Do I really want to be going that route? I certainly was put off looking at Unity the other year because of the way they were treating their developers. Godot, kind of Godot, Godot,
Godot, I think, because it's named after the Samuel Beckett play, and that is pronounced Godot.
Right. So yeah, that might be a route, and that certainly seems to be advancing in a way that I could use. But I don't think it's quite there yet. And then what you will always find with those is that you end up against an edge where getting the video data in varies platform to platform, and that bit is usually not very well thought about with these engines.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah. But like line of travel, I think what I'm saying is that I'll be standing up 2 apps over this next year. So I'll be going from GoVJ 3 to GoVJ Pro, which we discussed before is going to be called ProVJ, and that will be for iPad and hopefully Mac as well. And then after that, this sort of side quest on Kotlin Multiplatform will probably kick in, and I'll be looking at a first cut of GoVJ for Android. Will be the goal.
Right. Yeah. I am excited to see what it brings. I mean, if it even like you never know, of course, but yeah, it might be just a really cool thing, a really cool side quest, you know.
I'm curbing my enthusiasm because I know how long this stuff can take. So I say this now, and it could be 18 months, 2 years before I'm actually pushing an app to the Play Store. Like, if I consider everything else that I've got going on that I want to do, like, this is a side quest.
Yeah, and I think like not everything has to like have a direct connection to, oh yeah, this will happen. This will be the big project in 2 years or whatever. Like you're evaluating this stuff. If it works, awesome, and then you can maybe do something with it. And if it doesn't, you can evaluate other stuff.
Exactly. And I think for this route in particular, like, it makes sense. I'm at a stage now where every time I'm posting stuff up to social media about the VJ app, I will invariably get somebody ask me when the Android version is coming. So there's also a bit of like, well, people are literally asking
these people how much money they spent on apps on their Android phone in the last 12 months.
I know, but okay, so yes, traditionally Android users don't spend the same amount as iOS. I know that, but even so, if you think about my message on my website, even so, okay, it's not literally on the website right now, but certainly one of the things I've said in amongst that sort of statement of like, you know, GoVJ is developed by David Wood in Aurorae. David loves making real-time video tools that anyone can use. The other spin I quite often say about GoVJ is that it's a tool that everyone can use. And so there is a part of me that feels like if I don't have an Android version, am I really thinking about everyone? You know,
400 Linux users will write you in 3, 2, 1.
I've got that covered. I've got that covered out of the gate. All right. So
fantastic.
Yeah, that's the whole reason for looking at Kotlin Multiplatform as well, is that
Oh
I
yeah,
can
I
get an
can see
Android
that.
app
I can see
and a
that. And yeah,
Linux
you
app.
were experimenting with Linux on a MacBook Air or something, right? Like that, right?
True. Yeah. So in a fit of pique last weekend, I installed Asahi Linux on my M1 MacBook Air. It's fine. It's Linux. It works. It does what it needs to do. It's how did I put it? It doesn't suck.
All
I
right,
think is
that's very
probably
cool.
the. Do you know? Like I used Linux many years back now for about 2 or 3 years, from about, I want to say, late 2006, and it didn't suck then either. But there were certainly a lot of edges here and there with stuff that wasn't there. These days, modern Linux, hell of a lot of things are there.
All
Just
right.
like in terms of, it's installed the Wi-Fi out the box. It's got the accelerated graphics. I used an app for Mastodon that worked. There's IDEs, text editors, everything that I could want as a dev is basically there. Not too bad.
Very good.
But I mean, it will probably sit there, and I will probably boot it every now and again just to have a look. But I'm distracted now. So for listeners of the show, Daniel has his co-host. Mimi is with him.
The co-host has returned.
Yes.
Do you want to say something now, Mimi? No, she doesn't.
No, she's not going to purr on demand.
No purring on demand.
No. But Daniel, yeah, like I say, I'm not completely table flipping out of iOS and Apple stuff, but I definitely want to have one foot in other things now. I think is like, if I think about that initial reaction I had of like, oh wow, Apple could do that. The answer is yes, they could. They can do what they want in that reaction. They are a private company. This is part of it. Well, they are a company, and yeah, I think for me it's going to be good to be experiencing things that are not in the walled garden as well as the stuff that's here.
Well, fair. Like, I mean, for me, it's not the OpenAI moment, I think. But still, I mean, TelemetryDeck's main dashboard is not an iOS app anymore. And that's also because it's just like too much risk business wise to only be allowing stuff to run on iOS and macOS, basically.
Yeah.
Even though, God, I miss it. I'm gonna have a an intern next week.
Awesome.
I haven't asked him whether I can tell his name, so I won't. But he is 17 and he has won multiple Apple Swift grants, basically, where they fly him out to WWDC. And so if I find the time and the energy and stuff, I will hopefully work with him a little bit on the TelemetryDeck iOS app, so that will at least work as a viewer app once more, because currently it doesn't.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, because I was using that, and then as it's become less supported, I've just been checking on the website. So it would be great if it becomes useful again as a viewer, like in terms of you continuing its support, because
yeah, it needs to be like way scaled down, but it would be nice if you could at least use it to log in and then check some charts, and then also have widgets, because widgets are the things that you can't do with a PWA.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I was about to say is, yes, I want my TelemetryDeck widgets again. So
those are really nice, aren't they? And so I really want them back.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of people, I have finally met my coworker Marina the other day.
After how long?
After 2.5 years, I want to say.
Yeah.
Because Marina lives in Estonia, whereas I live in Germany, and Lisa does as well. And so Marina wrote us and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in X city, and do you want to meet?" And so we hopped in a rental car and drove there, and finally met Marina for the first time, which was really nice, because Marina is fantastic in person, just as they are on Zoom or any video or any other video call or on Mastodon. And yeah, it was really nice. We had we had just a lovely chat. We spent a few hours together, and that was really
that's
nice.
great. That's really awesome, and I certainly think those sort of in-person connections, when you can make them happen, have got a lot of value. And yeah, no, that's cool. Are you planning like anything to get the whole TelemetryDeck team together if things are going ahead with this intern and that sort of thing?
I don't know yet. So one thing I could think about is doing like kind of a summer party thing, where we'd say, hey, like this day is our summer party. There's going to be, I don't know, an outside space where there are various beverages and foods, and yeah, we could like try to think about like can we pay for the non-German or like people who are not in Augsburg basically for like reimburse them for travel or whatever.
Yep.
We are super cash starved, so it's gonna like so the travel reimbursements might be the biggest problem here.
So you're not going to be bringing over your New Zealand consultant anytime soon.
I wish that would be amazing. But maybe once we have a few more subscribers, or but yeah, that's an idea that's kind of kicking around in my head. But if I really want to do this, I should like start organizing basically now.
Yep.
And so I think it's not going to happen basically because it's just going to be too much work. And I am already like at 250% capacity.
Yes.
Which is probably something that I really shouldn't do. But I don't know. Like maybe we can just like get the people who can come here within an hour or something, and just like invite them for a few drinks and or a bit of food and whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the light version. It'll be slightly unfair to people who are not like able to come to Augsburg on a short notice. But I don't know. We could just send them merch, like for example, our new TelemetryDeck notebook. Hang on, I gotta turn off the blurring basically.
Yeah.
Here we go. I have a notebook now. It is actually designed by Marina because they are not only our copywriter, but also an amazing designer with a very recognizable style, which is very cutesy.
Awesome. Put that right in the middle over your top of your... Yeah, there we go. Over you. Wow.
And so we have a notebook. It is A5, which is like half the size of a letter, basically. Yes. And it says TelemetryDeck. It has a cutesy version of Sandrine, our mascot, and also a little rocket and some little planets, and it's very cute. The lining is, awesome. Of course, dotted. You can see that probably. Ooh. Because dotted is the best lining. This is objectively the best. You know?
Oh wow! Well,
so, yeah,
I'm not going to die on that hill arguing dotted versus lines with you, Daniel.
No, we did the research. We asked like 4 billion people, and we've concluded that for everyone in every situation, always dotted is the best. Yeah, right now I got 20 of these bad boys.
Yep.
But I don't know. Like we might have to print a few more, and then we can send some out.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the look of it as well. That's a lovely image. Oh, well, Daniel, it has been lovely talking to you. But I think I'm going to have to get my day started on this side.
Do that.
Yeah, and I know on your side it's pretty late, so
gonna watch the servers a little more.
Oh no, you need to sleep sometimes, mate.
Yeah, a tiny bit of sleep would be really nice. All right, fine. I'm gonna go to bed. I tell you.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, before we go, Daniel, where can people find you online?
They can go find me at TelemetryDeck.com. I also live a lot on status.telemetrydeck.com, which is TelemetryDeck's status page, which should be way more greener than it is because we are at like just 1.9 beyond the dot for one of the APIs. The others are still good though. Also, please come to daniel@social.telemetrydeck.com to talk to me. We had people send me messages and I forgot to read them out. So I will we will deal with those next time.
Definitely.
Like for part 2, as they say on the TikToks.
Absolutely.
And Dave, what about you? Like, where can people find you and talk to you?
Well, given as we've talked about it on the show, I'm going to plug govjapp.com again as being the best place to go and see what this app I talk about all the time looks like. And you can find me on Mastodon and the Fediverse at dave@social.lightbeamapps.com.
Fantastic. Also, please like us, please subscribe, please rate us on the iTunes or other podcast directories.
Yep.
And
or the YouTubes if you're watching this.
Oh yeah. Also just like, I don't know. Just if you are in a car right now, just like honk a few times, just to tell everyone that you like waiting for review.
Everybody will know. Everybody around you will just go, yes, that's another waiting for review listener. It's a thing.
Exactly. Just, people will just know. All right. Have a fantastic time. See you next week, Dave. And listeners, see you. Bye.